Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trylko from the Sons of UCF, joined by Eric Lopez of the Black and Gold Banneret. Welcome to Around the Kingdom. Elo, hello.
Hello, Trace, and happy NHL season, everybody. You know who you are. Three-peat chase is on for the Panthers here, folks. Coming up on the fastest UCF show around, a team not chasing a championship this year. UCF losing to Kansas. What went wrong? What's to blame for the loss? Plus, a living legend, maybe the greatest athlete in UCF athletics history, was on campus. But did you know that she was on campus? We'll discuss that. Plus, a prop bet that's going to leave Trace very defensive. Stay tuned for that and much more on this edition of Around the Kingdom.
Before we get going with all of that, let us welcome the third member of our team. He is Adam Eaton from the Sons of UCF. Keeps an eye on the clock, keeps us on our toes. Adam, hello.
Greetings, gentlemen. Thanks for another episode here of Around the Kingdom. And, usually I'm the one telling you guys something, but I just learned that the NHL started today. So thank you very much, Eric Lopez, for that fun fact.
All right, check back with you in a bit, Adam. Elo, Knights football reeling 27-20 losers to Kansas. Seems like it could have been a win, maybe should have been a win, but it's a L for the Knights. What went wrong, Elo? Where to begin?
Oh, lots to begin. I don't know if we have enough time. Offense obviously disappeared pretty much after the first two drives. They couldn't run the ball anymore after the first two drives. I thought defensively they played pretty well, and then you can't score in the goal line, which we'll get to. I mean, and I'm going to give you credit, Trace. You've said this from the beginning when UCF joined the Big 12, that joining the Big 12 is a game of thin margins, right? Small margins. Boy, didn't that was the case on Saturday night. A half a yard from tying the game, numerous opportunities, just not able to be a consistent offense, and just a disappointing loss.
We're going to get into several of these things more, Elo, but they're just not consistent enough. They are not a four-quarter team. They start out strong. They wither as the game goes along. There's a lack of depth, and it could continue to be a challenge for the Knights in Scott Frost's second go-round here in Orlando.
Credit to Kansas, though. They made the plays when it mattered. I think it's a game UCF could have won. I don't agree with people saying they should have won. Should have won would imply they were the better team. I don't think they were because they don't have players like Jalen Daniels at the end of the day. But, of course, what would have been had UCF scored from the goal line? Instead, they got stymied from 1 yard out with a chance to tie the ball game. Trace, I know you've watched that sequence multiple times, live and in tape delay. Who do you blame?
Elo, it was no better watching the replay on TV than it was watching it in person. I said to my colleague, Nick Williams from the Sons of UCF, good teams get a yard, also good teams stop a yard. And that was really revealing of UCF down the stretch there. 2 Cam Fancher runs, already lost several quarterbacks before that, Fancher included in the first game, and you're running him. You got no beef. You got no running back you can throw. How about Paul Rubel? Just fall into the end zone or something. 1 yard, Elo. It's there's a lot to blame on that.
Let's start with the offensive line. You got to push. I don't care if you're good at 1 yard. And it makes me wonder, Trace, and you guys do a great job at Suns Live booking guests. One of the guests you have is Coach Lounsbury. He's one of the greatest offensive line coaches, if not the best, at UCF. Next time you have him on, I'm curious if you ask him, does an offensive line wear down as the game goes on? Is that a theory that's valid? Because we always talk about wearing down the defensive line. It feels to me watching that the offensive line for UCF wears down as the game goes on, Trace. I don't know if you've caught on to that, but it felt that way in the Kansas game. So that's number one. Number two, a part of me thought about if Jakari Brown is healthy, is he in that spot? And I think he scores. Fancher just doesn't know how to run. Like, Brown is an effective runner. I think Brown would have figured out a way to score, which is why I don't blame Scott Frost. I know some people are blaming him for being too conservative. Scott Frost is blaming himself. We'll get to him later on the program. But to me, the two culprits, the offensive line, at the end of the day, it's 1 yard. And the old cliche is if you can't get 1 yard, you don't deserve to win.
Yeah, and Elo, we talked about could have won, maybe not should have won. There's no guarantee they tie the game that they ultimately go on to win. But you got to get 1 yard. And this is why in year 3 of the Big 12, the Knights are still not built along the lines to win games of margins in the Big 12, Elo. You mentioned the word conservative there. Play calling from Scott Frost. Too conservative there? Should he have been more daring? I mean, I asked him in the media availability Monday, what was the sequence of, the 2-minute timeout occurred there? What was the play calling? I mean, he basically said, we thought we could get a half a yard, 1 yard. I don't think they thought it would go second down, third down, fourth down, and not get in.
Was he conservative? Sure. Part of that is the quarterback situation. I think, and I really appreciated him. You asked him the question. He took blank responsibility, saying I could have been more creative. But come on, man. He's just taking one for the players. That's on the players. 1 yard is not a lot. I'm confident, Trace, you could have pushed one of those linemen and snuck in there for a yard. Like, I mean, I've seen you push
fullback, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's a fullback. To me, it's on the players. I know some people are questioning Scott's play calling overall, that he was conservative. Again, I don't think he has a lot to play with, especially at the quarterback room. Do you trust Cam Fancher with a full playbook? Do you even trust Tavian Jackson, a healthy Tavian who wasn't healthy, with a full playbook? I think Scott's kind of has limited on what he can do. I don't blame Scott's play calling at all.
Yeah, and you mentioned Fancher right there. I will say that I think coming off the bench in place of an injured Tavian Jackson, that he performed well. But there's all the talk about the goal line stand there, but the Knights got the ball back. The defense stuffed Kansas, got the ball back on a short field. We're starting to move the ball downfield, and then a series of just confusing offensive plays. That's where Fancher, with all of the experience, with all of the starts at FAU and stops before that at Marshall, right? I needed to see more from him and the team down the stretch, and they withered in crunch time.
I agree, but we're learning about this group, which, Trace, begs me to ask, why is everybody shocked? We knew this was going to be a year in transition, a year in rebuild, 70 new players. We all said, you, me, Adam, all the people that actually know UCF football, that don't pretend to be there for 5 minutes and then do a 20-minute shtick on the side when they don't even go to games. This team was going to be a 6-6 team, borderline, and they struggle, and now everybody's flipping out. Explain this to me, Trace, because I don't understand it.
That's just the nature of fans in 2025. It's not unique to UCF. It's good vibes, want to win, right? And can't be in any discomfort. This is a game most people would have thought, with the experience that Jalen Daniels brought at quarterback, that UCF would have lost. I mean, Kansas is a talented team. And by the way, so is Cincinnati, up ahead for the Knights. Cincinnati that beat Kansas. So most Knights fans have this as a loss. I mean, I know some of this talk went that they could be 7-0. That they can be 9-3, but people realistically were saying do better than 4-8, 5, 6, 7 wins, and you take it, and they still have the ability to control that.
Right, just get some patience. Nobody has patience anymore, and I get that. And I'm not saying you should be satisfied, but honestly, Trace, is there anything that has shocked you so far about where the win-loss record or the team in general?
I'd just say the revolving door at quarterback because of injuries. And I think it's interesting that all preseason camp people say, who's the real starter? Who's going to emerge? And then everybody's surprised by Cam Fancher. And Scott Frost said, we've got 3 guys that can be quarterback. And I think we've all questioned whether they do have 3 guys. As it turned out, we've seen all 3 guys, and they continue to see some combination of them down the stretch, right? That is still a position of need for the Knights. What I thought was interesting in postgame is Scott Frost, he doesn't talk a lot about that first tenure here, except the good vibes that he had from it. But he referenced 2016, a lot of close losses. He mentioned the Maryland game at home and said that the Knights finally got it together, and had 2017, of course. Elo, matchup. We all do this 2017 versus 2013, but how about 2016 Knights versus 2025 Knights? Is the talent better 9 years later in the Big 12? Would it beat the 2016 team that went 6-6?
It's a great question. I think they're similar. There are similarities. I know Scott hated that. He kind of stopped himself when he compared them because he feels they can win more, but I do agree. The question is, though, do they have a Mackenzie Milton in the quarterback room? Because remember, Mackenzie Milton was the backup to Holman. Holman gets hurt. They decide to take off the red shirt of Milton, and Milton goes the rest of the way. I thought the defense with the Griffin brothers was really good. I don't know. Let me ask you this, Trace. Is there a defensive player on the current team that's as good as the Griffin brothers?
No, but the sum of the parts, and that's why I think Coach Grinch deserves a lot of credit. They have come together. They have been strong. It's 27 points on the scoreboard, but they fumble at the 2 and Kansas punches it in. They really, didn't give up a lot of points, and they contained Jalen Daniels pretty effectively, all things considered. So I don't put that on the defense. But yeah, no, to your point, I don't think there's a Griffin yet. This defense needs to start creating some more turnovers to elevate its status, Elo.
There also may not be a Mackenzie Milton on this team, and that's the big question: is who is the quarterback in the room? The banged up room as it is, Trace, with Jackson hurt. You had Jakari Brown hurt, missed the last game, may be back, may not. And then you got Cam Fancher. Where are we on this quarterback room right now at UCF?
It feels like we are where we were leaving preseason camp, Elo, with a lot of confusion. And when you look at the teams that UCF's playing, I think it was 9 starters coming back that have experience. Jalen Daniels has been playing since the COVID years, okay? And the kid at Cincinnati, he's pretty strong too. I mean, 17 total touchdowns against 1 interception, I believe, are his stats. Knights lack a consistent leader at the quarterback position. And I don't think it really matters, Elo. I think it may be Cam Fancher Saturday, Jakari Brown back. Maybe David Jackson is still in recovery mode. Certainly he's hurting. Does he get snaps during the week? We don't know that. Not very forthcoming on the injury front. I don't think it matters. I think it's interchangeable. They have different skill sets, but none of them are Mackenzie Milton.
100% agree with everything you said. I have a question for you. What do you think Dylan Risk is thinking watching this unfold while he has yet to get and Adam can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Dylan Risk has not gotten a snap at Stanford where he transferred to. Do you think Dylan Risk could have played here?
I think he would have played.
Right. Like what,
I think he would have played.
If you're Dylan Risk, isn't a part of you think, I mean, granted, academic-wise, Stanford, you can't argue with that.
No,
I'm sure that's not, but isn't a part of you, if you're Dylan Risk, like, man, I could be playing right now over there? I don't know. What do you think?
I think he would have gotten in somewhere. I mean, it's hard not to say that he would. I think we were all on Davi Belfort watch over the course of the next 7 games if they start losing quarterbacks. That's why running Cam Fancher a couple times at the goal line, I'm like, let's not get him hurt. I don't know how much Dylan Risk would have played, but I imagine Dylan Risk would have seen some action, Elo. And you know what happens when teams lose and it's back-to-back for the Knights? That's when this fan base starts talking about, well, itself. Night-on-night crime, Elo. The fans, who shows up? How long did they stay? Should they be banned from future games? Like, that's something that UCF needs to start doing, is banning people that don't stay the entire game. What do you make of the fickle fan base? Let's go back a week, Elo. I declared the Kansas game a must-win because I think it needed to happen to keep the fan base. And I stand by that. I think that there are a lot of looky-loos that want to feel good vibes. We're talking about 2016 Knights versus 2025 Knights. Fan base has changed too, Elo. Instant gratification, right? You got to feel good all the time. You got to have social media about it. I don't think fans are the same just 9 years removed from that first Scott Frost tenure.
I agree. I don't think there's the fan base. There's a percentage of the fan base that's not as diehard as you are or were, or I was or were, or Adam was, where you're there through thick and thin through the worst. Now people can kind of bail quickly. I do think the whole thing about people leaving early and who's at the stadium is a little silly. Number one, we kind of foreshadowed this, Trace, a week ago. Remember, we talked about Florida State's playing Miami, so you're going to lose a percentage of the casual people that are going to be paying attention to that game. I think I asked you off the air about the TV, local media. There wasn't much of a presence for that game against Kansas because they're all in Tallahassee, for example. Not to mention there's technology where a person doesn't have to stay at the football game for the whole game to find out what happens. They can just pick up their phone, leave the stadium, watch the game from the phone. So it is a tough time from a UCF standpoint where you are literally battling for the entertainment dollar. And then, you've got people that are hanging out at the cabanas that may not stick around through the rain, Trace. It's just reality.
Yeah, and all this talk, and it pops up every so often. Expand the stadium, needs to be 65,000. You know what? Reduce the size of the stadium. Carve out more spaces for luxury seating and where people want to stand and they want to drink and they want to eat and they want to pay for that experience. Carve out more seats. It doesn't need to be expanded.
But again, patience with Scott Frost, who has been upfront and honest since he got hired in December. He was not like Gus, who was trying to preach, hey, this is the year to. Frost has said, be patient. This is going to take time. You can't say that your coach has not been upfront and honest with you. So it's on you to listen. And
Elo, on that point, obviously every coach, there's some coach speak that creeps in. But if you listen to Scott Frost and even really Alex Grinch as well, they do answer questions in a more nuanced way. I keep thinking about the question I asked to Scott Frost. What happened in the 2-minute timeout? What was the plan? Gus would have, are you questioning my decision? All my vast knowledge as a coach?
Right. He's not defiant like Gus was, which is why as a fan, this is the last thing you should be doing is flipping out and being like in denial. You're getting the truth. Now, whether you like the truth or not, that's your problem. But honest, that's why I'm not like freaking out. Like, he's pretty much been on point with everything he's said. And I'm not surprised by any of this. And again, by the way, you're playing good. This ain't Kansas ain't, who was the Memphises of the world, the bad Memphis I'm talking about. This ain't like, I think people got to remember, you've got to respect your opponents. And I think you made a great point. I don't remember it was on the air, off the air. Just because Lawrence, Kansas doesn't excite you, doesn't mean they don't have good football players. In fact, they have more resources right now in football from a financial standpoint than UCF does. I know people have a hard time believing that. A lot of there. It's not just basketball. So that's something that also needs to be brought up. And I know people hate that, but it is. All right, there's been Chase. Is there anything positive that happened in this game that you liked at all, or we should move on? What are we doing here?
Can we fill 1 minute for the defensively, Elo?
Yeah,
they played strong, I think, for the most part, and they haven't embarrassed themselves in these 2 losses. They got beat. Okay, they don't have the same quality of players head to head in various position groups. And considering the injuries and the revolving door quarterback, they're hanging in these games. And it's back to the margins question, Elo. You punch it in for the one, there's no guarantee you win, but that shows you how close that is. And Vegas had it right? They had them about a touchdown favorite, and that's what it was. UCF is in these games, but you need better players in order to get over the hump in these games. But I think all things considered, there were a few moments that didn't work out, but I think they handled themselves well.
Defense only gave up 1 touchdown in the second half, which was literally handed to Kansas on a turnover inside the 5-yard line, right? Like that's you can't. I mean, 2 field goals given up. I agree. I thought the defense has been a bright spot. I think you got to feel good about Alex Grinch. Alex Grinch, Trace, the most confident you have felt about a UCF defensive coordinator since who?
Ted Roof.
What? I don't think so, brother. You gotta go back. Maybe second half Randy. Second half Randy.
Second half Randy. Yeah. Adam wanted to draft Jakari Brown's legs in our fantasy draft. Second half Randy as a notion there. Elo, let's shorten this. The quest for 6 in bowl eligibility. West Virginia, a 1:00 homecoming game as it is announced, right? Oklahoma State. If you can't beat those 2 teams, you're not going to have any chance against the other ones on the schedule. And now we know the space game uniform. It's still the space game. I know you looked at Cincinnati. That looks like a tough game on the road, Elo. Maybe Baylor, but it's not going to be Texas Tech and BYU for sure.
Well, the elephant in the room here, Trace, is we don't know Jackson's status. I mean, I'm not optimistic he's playing Saturday. Do you?
Yeah.
Did not. Now, we'll get an official injury report later this week. So by the time this airs, depending on when you watch this, you'll know the answer. But the question is, how long is he out? Are you confident they can beat West Virginia without Jackson? Are you confident they can? I don't know if they can beat Houston without Jackson. So I need to know what his status before feeling confident. Trace, I got to be honest. Even though it just the quarterback situation is what it is, and I just think Jackson is the best of that group for what. And it's not like he's like Mackenzie Milton, but he is the best, I think, of the group. So it's rough. Hey, speaking of Cincinnati, Trace, you're going up to Cincinnati. So you got to feel optimistic for a reason because you're still going somehow. So you obviously feel optimistic about something. What is that?
Well, Cincinnati upsets Iowa State, right? They rushed the field. There's got to be a letdown. And so maybe that's a window for UCF. Double-digit point underdogs, right? In this one, Elo, is UCF. Doesn't happen a lot that the Knights are big dogs, maybe a little bit under Gus. But I think they could spring the upset, but I don't go in thinking that they could. I think does Cincinnati come back to them? And it does go to turnover margin. Alex Grinch saying during his availability, when UCF has lost that turnover battle, it just 1-0 last week, but that one was very consequential, was a big difference maker in that game. You got to force turnovers. You got to get pressure on the quarterback, or it's going to be a long day.
One thing Cincinnati tends to, at least during the Scott Satterfield era, is they tend to help you out. They penalize themselves a lot sometimes. So you're right. Hangover, come out a little flat after feeling so good, storming the field, beating Iowa State. Maybe UCF gets off to a good start. You allow yourself into the game. We're going to find out later on this show, Trace, how much you have faith in UCF's defense in that game.
What is this question? All right, time to bring you back in, Adam, and our silly game, the latest we've ever gone to a silly game, and the fastest show around.
Everyone's favorite game, by the way. All right, guys, this one's an easy one. I'm going to give you a topic. You give me the percentage chance you think this thing can happen. All right, so here's the first one. What's the percentage chance, Elo, we see Davy Belfort take another snap this season? What percentage chance Davy Belfort takes another snap?
55%. Historically, I mean, the way we've been going, remember the Weatherford year and where he played the Thanksgiving Black Friday game or whatever it was against UAB way back in the day in 08? It wouldn't shock me if that guy came in for a few snaps later in November. I could see that.
Mop-up duty in a blowout loss on the road, 35%.
Okay, that doesn't bode well. Guys, big news on Tuesday. The space uniforms for 2025 have been released. Either you love them or you hate them. There's really no in between. Trylko, my question for you, what's the percentage chance that UCF ever does a full rebrand to Citronauts, Trace? Is that ever happening? What percentage?
0.00%. Absolutely no.
A lot of zeros.
I'm with Trace, 0%. But if you want more details, a breakdown of the Space Unis, go to Pegasus Podcast for the breakdown from Christian Simmons.
Yeah, is that a 24-hour show? Or are they just talking nonstop all night?
It's on live now through November. Eric Lopez also on Tuesday announced that the UFL coming back to Orlando. The Orlando Storm is taking the league by storm. Elo, what percentage chance that the Orlando Storm lasts for 2 or more seasons?
-50. Negative. Teams come here to die from all other football leagues. -50, Trylko.
50-50 chance. I think they get through one season.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah, 50-50. 50%.
All right, I'll sneak one more in. Trace, what's the chance that one of UCF's remaining 3 home games is impacted by rain? What's the chance impacted by rain?
100%.
All right, Eric Lopez.
90% chance.
All right, Eric Burris's job is safe for another week.
All right, don't leave, Adam. Come back, Adam. We need you to update the fantasy football.
I got to move the graphics around. I don't have time just to sit around and just do nothing. I got stuff to do, guys. All right, but Trace Trylko, you had a fantastic week. Miles Montgomery led you with 2 touchdowns, 116 yards rushing. You put up 28 points this week. I put up a measly 11.5. Elo put up 9.5. So that puts the standings as follows. Eric Lopez still in 3rd place, 71 points. Trace Trylko in 2nd place, 92 points. Adam Eaton in 1st place, 93.5. Trace Trylko is within a 1.5 now of the Fighting Eaton. So let's see what happens as the rest of the season goes on.
All right. Thank you, Adam. All right, Elo, we got to speed up now. We're down to single digits in this show.
Yes, my condolences to you about your loss. You had UCF beating Kansas in the poll.
In the scheduled draft, just in our draft, not because I really thought it was going to happen.
Adam, good luck. You got Cincinnati. You probably don't feel as good about it right now as you did, say, about 2 months ago. So that is what the scheduled draft is all about. With
Elo around the Big 12, who's legit? Who's a fraud? It's a bunch of teams that are within striking distance.
You know who's a fraud is Iowa State. We always get caught up. Oh, Iowa State gets off to great starts, and then they fade. And it's nothing against Matt Campbell. He's a nice coach, but they're an 8-4, 9-3 program. So I don't think I think they're a fraud.
There's nothing wrong with that, Elo. We'd take it.
No, especially with the limited resources. I mean, that might be a team we want to copy. But to me, it's Texas Tech, BYU that I think are the 2 best teams. Certainly Arizona State has a statement in about a week where they play Texas Tech. But I like Tech. I feel like Texas Tech, man, they manhandled Houston. They look like a buzzsaw in the Big 12 with that defense.
It's Big 12 championship or bust for Texas Tech. That is what they have invested in this roster to achieve, Elo, and they've got to be in that game at least. You know what? BYU, of all the brands that came into this league, they were the most durable, Elo. Long-standing, traditional brand, big fan base, a lot of money. BYU is going to be a problem for everybody across the sports for a long time to come.
Trace, did you get up at 9:30 in the morning, Sunday morning, with your UCF socks on to watch Dylan Gabriel starting?
Can I tell you something? I did watch some of it. I found myself towards the end rooting for Dylan Gabriel to pull out victory. And I thought, you know what? He's bounced around. I saw UCF mentioned during the broadcast, right, as they mentioned him from Oklahoma to Oregon. We're claiming him, Elo. We're claiming if he continues to hold on to the starter's job. And now he is that starter.
The Browns traded Joe Flacco to the Bengals, so it probably will be him for a little bit. Here's where I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him to throw the ball to Jerry Jeudy because I have Jerry Jeudy in my fantasy football team. So as long as he do a better job of throwing the ball to Jerry and Jeudy, all will be forgotten between me and Dylan. But if he ignores him like he did on Sunday with 2 catches, No, we're going to continue to clash. All right. That's the answer there.
All right. Prop bets, Elo.
I'm
You
excited.
have an update. You have an update, though, right? We got the ratings finally for UCF Kansas State. You set the over-under on that 720,000. I think we both took the under. I was like 688. What was the final number?
377.
Ooh, Elo.
Very under. Way under. Down
And
under.
last week, I'll give you credit. You are so good at these prop bets. You set the over-under 11 o'clock for the end of the game. I looked it up in preparation for this show. 11:01, Elo. How do you do it? 1 minute.
We'll see if you like this one or not. This is a first. For those that don't know, ladies and gentlemen, during the month of September, while we record this show, a lot of times Trace Trylko is watching his beloved Chicago Cubs baseball, which annoys me and Adam. Well, I got a prop bet just for Trace. October special. Trace, will UCF on Saturday at Cincinnati give up fewer points than the Chicago Cubs will give up in runs against the Milwaukee Brewers in the entire LDS series? At the time of this recording, Milwaukee has scored 16 runs in the first 2 games of that series against the Cubs. There might be one or more games. Trace, who you got? Cubs pitching or UCF's defense?
Elo, UCF's defense. I do not trust the Cubs pitching in the playoffs. Plus, I don't know how many games that baseball series is going to go. So I think the Cubs.
Especially if your manager's throwing. What's your manager, Greig Counsell, doing? Throwing his ace on short rest. By the way, what are you doing?
Nobody's tuning in for baseball talk. What are you doing? What are you going with?
Ooh, I'm gonna have more faith. I'm gonna go with your Cubs. I think the way Cincinnati's balanced offense is, this could be rough.
All right, Elo, let's combine all of the Olympic sports, volleyball, men's soccer, women's soccer. What stands out to you?
All right, women's soccer ranked 26 in the RPI. That is significant. That's where you want to be if you want to make the NCAA tournament. It's actually borderline bubble to perhaps host a first-round game. But
What's with the scoreless draws?
Well, it helped that there was a monsoon rain in between during the late first half, early second half. Probably didn't help that at all. By the way, fantastic week if you want to go out. Women's volleyball hosting top 15 ranked TCU on Thursday, I believe. Volleyball, Adam could correct me if I'm wrong on that date. Men's soccer hosting number 6 Georgia Southern. So if you want to see ranked teams, this would be a good week to do it with the opponents coming in. Volleyball, rough. Blows a 2-set lead at Colorado.
You got to close that out, Elo. You can't let it go away.
It's going to haunt them. Lose a set to Iowa State. There. Shout out, Michelle Akers was in attendance alumni day, UCF women's soccer game, the greatest UCF athlete of all time. And yet, Trace, nobody knew about it.
Where's the statue? Where's the banner?
How come we didn't know about it until Bryson, who was there covering the game, sent me a text saying, hey, Michelle Akers is here? What? How is that possible?
I agree with you, Elo. Mount Rushmore of athletes at UCF. All right, time to bring back in Adam. Adam, Elo called upon you several times to correct him if he was wrong.
Fear not, Elo. I'm here for you. You guys talked about conservative play calling, by the way. 12 carries for Miles Montgomery in the second half. 7 of those 12 carries were either for 0 or negative yards. That's not good. Brendan Sorsby, the Cincinnati quarterback, has been around since 2022, Trace. This year, he has 12 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns against 1 INT. Elo, according to College Football Reference, Dylan Risk, no stats this year for Stanford.
No stats.
No stats. Kansas, 27 points is the lowest that they've scored all season long. And to your point earlier, obviously 7 of those were gifted. UCF and Cincinnati 5-5 all time in the series. The tiebreaker on Saturday, now looking good for the Knights. Elo, your memory is correct. Joe Weatherford, 2008, did play against UAB, went 12-16 for 2 INTs and a 15-0 loss. He also took 7 snaps against Memphis that same season. And Elo, Thursday, 6 p.m., you can watch UCF and TCU volleyball live from the venue.
15-0. I remember that game. That was the worst game.
I was there. I didn't bail like young people today. I was there for the whole thing.
That's a lesson to the kids. If you hang around, one day you can eventually host a show like this. One more thing before we go. We mentioned volleyball. It's another space match for volleyball against number 11 TCU Thursday. That's Space U versus TCU. Elo. You'll find Around the Kingdom on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel and also on the Sons podcast feed, wherever you get that audio content that you download. For Eric Lopez and Adam Eaton, I'm Trace Trylko. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this week's Around the Kingdom.